And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
And together we are the leads on development and design here at Codename.
Not only that, we also founded Codename.
Yeah, and we're going to be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Because when we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
It's been true so far.
Yeah. Today, speaking of so far, is our 117th episode.
117th.
Yeah.
This is where actually I thought you'd make a Halo joke. But
No.
anyway, what are we going to talk about today, Justin?
Oh, same thing we talk about every week, David.
Trying to take over the world?
What? No. Development and design questions about idle champions.
Oh, I thought you were doing a whole Pinky in the Brain thing.
Oh, well, no. I don't think you really thought that through, because in this back and forth, you'd be Pinky.
Narf. All right, that is not a...
You should have watched some YouTube videos like me before the stream. Anyway, we are here to answer your development and design questions about idle champions.
If you don't ask any questions, however, you will have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of Nations of the World by Yakko Warner.
Yeah, we got a theme today. Actually, I think it's a one-man show I could actually do, assuming I had like the script in front of me. It'll only take like 2 minutes too.
Too bad you chose the day after Events 2.0 launch. I think you're going to get questions.
I think so too.
All right. Anyway, I still think you should have done a Halo thing with 117. Opportunity lost.
Well, maybe your dad joke will be about 117 about Halo.
Nope.
Okay.
I don't have one. Okay. As always, we have pulled forward some questions from the previous show that we didn't get to, and so we will get started answering some of those while we wait for new questions to come in. But before I don't know why I'm still saying this. This is going to be different. This is going to be different next week, I swear.
You think so?
I hope so, anyway. Which, of course, is that before we get to those, I have some updates on items that were flagged to get looked at by the dev team, which, of course, is not totally been true for the last few weeks because we have been pushing really hard to get all of the pieces in place for first collections and then for the Events 2.0 launch. But with both of those out, that should be changing because that's got a lot of development time is freeing up. So we will be working on a lot of these in-progress items. At any rate, the fixes and new feature list here is very short. It says Events 2.0.
Yeah, that's the new feature.
So that did go out
We did it
yesterday. Yep. And then there is a long list of in-progress items, but I'm going to hold on those until next week because I think we should be able to actually get some of those in starting next week because we have that extra aforementioned development time freeing up.
Eventually it'll free up. Once we fix all the bugs in collections and Events 2.0.
They are not that full of bugs.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get into the leftover questions from the previous... Sorry, what? Oh, weird comment. From the previous shows. First one, left over from last week, is from Insomnica. Since you can
That's
buy...
the name.
That's what it says. Since you can buy directly out of the Collections Patron tab, is there any chance to buy gem feats directly out of the Collections Feat tab, since that would make the tab super useful?
Super more useful. But yeah, I mean that seems like a good suggestion and something we could look at. Right now, I am doing a big pass of the collections dialogue, a sort of post-release pass, with an eye towards all of the kind of comments like this that we've seen in the Discord and on Reddit and in various other places on our show. So we'll definitely be looking at some of the quality of life stuff that you guys are looking for, and be looking to add some of that in the next month or two.
Okay. Next question is from a Silver Griffin. I could say that one.
There you go.
Piece of cake. Can we get a button on the character sheet to take you to their part of the collection/equipment?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question of sort of how closely we link together the champion profile dialogue and the various collections parts. So I think that. Yeah, I think when we do sort of a rework of the collection. No. Collections 2.0. When we end up doing a rework of the champion character sheet, I think we'll look at how to tie that into collections and and show some preliminary data there and let you sort of zip around to the relevant areas. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And have deep link buttons everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's it.
Those
That's
are the two
pulled-
questions
that's all
I
we pulled from last week.
I figured we get a bunch of questions this week, as there are already 49 questions. So yeah, I imagine we want to free up some time to do those new questions, which is why I am now talking so much about how we want to free up the time to do the new questions. To use up all the time.
Because it's a new system, I'm sure like half the questions are the same question, just
probably a lot of
everyone was at the
duplication
gate
there.
with the same question.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's find out. First new question out of the gate is from Randram, asking, with some people choosing not to ruin their jump percentages on Briv, and because of that, not opening patron chests for 3 out of the 4 current patrons. When these are given as guide quest rewards, and there are guide quests with more rewards that cannot be completed for another 2 to 3 years, can we submit tickets to have these deleted multiple times as the quest becomes possible?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question, and one that we kind of struggle with. It's like, obviously we're not going to not give out certain rewards because a very, very small segment of the population doesn't want those rewards. So how to handle this, I'm just not sure.
You could fix Briv.
We could fix Briv.
That's
Just give us the jump feats.
yeah.
That's probably an issue. That's probably a decent solution. But I mean, there's still going to be people who are like at 6 jump and don't want more. So I don't know. There's going to be some weird thing with gem farming. Every single time we change absolutely anything, we get the complaints of, you've ruined my gem farming and my perfectly set up script that if it's off by 1 or 2 seconds, it like goes off the rails and starts AI taking over the world stuff. But so yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% sure to how to handle this specific kind of complaint of like, I got something I didn't want, can you please delete it for me, at a kind of higher level. Fixing Briv is probably the low-hanging fruit for this specific example, but there's a bigger question of, I got a thing, I don't want it. It's like people who are trying to do a gearless run, and it's like, yeah, you're doing a gearless run, but you're still going to get all the chests and stuff, and you're still going to get all the rewards, and like we're not going to specifically tailor the rewards just for a specific way that you want to play the game. So at a low level, I think we can solve this by looking at Briv and finally addressing Briv. And at a high level, I'm not sure how to address it kind of in every situation.
Yeah, I mean, those two examples, the gearless one might be a little bit of a different story. Probably fewer people who are actually looking at that, whereas Briv seems to be a little bit more common. But
yeah, but at the 9 jump level, I don't know.
It feels like something we could probably find out. Okay, next question. This is from Hunters UK. Under hotkeys, it says that K is for quest log. Shouldn't this be quest tracker? Also, Z is still there for seasons.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I think we've got some cleanup to do of the hotkeys there. Seasons could come back, and so maybe we want to leave that there, or maybe just temporarily remove it. But yeah, I think we need to do some temporary cleanup for sure.
Okay. Next question. Mars is adding, V is for trials. Well, that's not what I thought V was for. I'm not thinking of the movie, not. Anyway.
Vendetta? Is that what you're thinking? Okay.
Yeah, that's where my mind goes when I hear that. Next question is from Numantis. How do you filter equipment in the collections dialog to only show champions who have missing gaps in their equipment? The slot fill state filter only works if you're completely missing an item in a slot, and minimum all slot rarity is not helpful either.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I'm looking at in my current pass of the collections dialog to make sure that we've got some of those community requested filters there, and that is one that is definitely on the list to get added in. So appreciate that comment. It's definitely something we'll be looking at.
Okay. Next question. This is from Randram. Any plans to introducing enough patron influence to acquire 100% perks? Now that it matters with the collections manager, as all patron lack one rank of the highest tier and no variants high enough are in sight up to at least June, as far as we can tell.
Yeah, I think rather than approaching it from the adding more patron influence randomly to the game, I think probably what we'll end up doing there is find a way to have basically you've got 100% of the available perks, or you've got the most possible influence, or something like that, instead of using the number of perks. Because that way you can get to 100% regardless of whether or not there's enough influence in the game to get to the perks, or to get all the perks. Because the way I like to design them when we're putting in new perk tiers is to have a little bit of a future buffer there, and not just have it so as soon as we put them out, everyone can immediately 100% them by just clicking a couple of buttons. I like to have a little bit of stuff for people to kind of like choose between which of the high level ones they want, or have something to work towards and look forward to, like new variants in June that might allow them to get enough influence to unlock those last few. So I think, changing that around so that it's 100%able is something we want to do. I'm just going to have a new color here that's just for me to look at after the stream. That way we're not bringing it all up for Peter and the...
Yep. That's an awfully bright color, though. Anyway.
Right, I'll choose a different color.
Anyway, next question. This one is from Library of Akasha, and it doesn't look like it's a question. It looks more like it's a
request.
A request. Please add a double or triple warning system when you buy chests for a dismantleable champion.
Sure. So I think we have. I haven't actually tested it, but I'm pretty sure we put in at least one warning system for it. We definitely have a warning there, and it's Garwar says it's pretty clear.
One warning works.
There's a warning on the purchase dialogue.
Yeah, I mean double and triple.
Yeah, I don't know about needing more than one, but I think it's pretty clear. So hopefully that is already addressed. Let's add more just in case. We want it to be visible but not annoying.
Yeah, if you want to purchase, you must actually the buy button is in 3 pieces, and you have to drag them
back
like puzzle
together.
piece format into forming the buy button.
There's that game where you have to make a password, and it keeps adding additional restrictions as you go. It's like you have to solve today's Wordle and then put that in, and
Yeah. Okay. Next question is from Rough Rider 1995, asking, does Dadius now intentionally not jump empty spaces to apply his buff?
So yeah, this was a choice we made when we were looking at when we were doing the rework of him, and he's like one of the only, potentially the only champion in the game that did that, which I think made him more confusing for people who didn't realize that he was doing that or didn't understand what that meant. So we did intentionally remove that feature from his kit, because it just, one of the things we try and do with the reworks is try to make the champions more consistent in how they behave. Now I understand that's impossible because every champion has kind of their own kind of quirks, but the way in which formation abilities reach out and touch the other formation slots was something we wanted to make sure people were really able to grok right away. So that is why we removed it. Yes, Nemantis has a good point that the achievement that he has is not completable in his own formation with it removed. Whoops. That was an oversight.
Now, not to throw anyone under the bus, but did that change make it into the changelog?
Was it in the changelog? I don't remember. Might have been.
Next question. This is from Garwar, who'd like to know, we got 7-day potions because the community did not like buffs being forced on us with purchases. Now with the boon systems for event, we're forced into health and fire breath buffs that can actually be detrimental to our gameplay. It feels bad to support the game financially and have it affect us negatively. How do you feel you can resolve this problem going forward?
Yeah, this is a good question, and this is actually one of the things that was on our to-do list for Events 2.0, but didn't quite get done as we approached the deadline, was a way to essentially opt out of some of the boon buffs. So that is a feature we are planning to get into the game. It is on the list to be able to opt out of ones you don't want to have on, or basically toggle them at any time. And so we look forward to getting that in and having that be the solution to this particular problem.
Okay. And that's going to be at the individual level?
Yes.
So you don't have to choose between having
You
all
have
of them
yeah,
or
you have to be
none
like,
of
I don't
them?
want the damage and the speed, or I don't want the fire breath and the health, so you also have to give up the damage and the speed. No, you can just, yeah. So we will do that. You guys wore me down in the season stuff. And I was like, even before, I think we designed the wanting to have that toggle like 2 months ago. It was like, they're going to want this. Obviously, there's some of these buffs they're not going to want to have on in certain situations. So it was something that I knew was coming, and we just didn't quite get to it because it was a lower priority than having the system just kind of function out of the box.
Right. Okay, next question. Man, you just went through and highlighted this entire block, just start to finish.
Yeah, I control A and
Yeah.
then just made it my color.
This is from Library of Akasha. Could you please remove the time lock on the 2 event slots? I'd like to have more time to spare just in case.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So the reason we have the time lock there is to really, well, there's a couple of reasons for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can articulate them very well, but I'll try. One of the reasons is the events are a little bit longer now, and so the kind of, you start the event and there's that initial excitement about it, and then I feel like if we didn't have anything that kind of happened in the middle of the event, we'd kind of had these weeks of dead time because people would start the event, you'd finish the event, you'd unlock 5 or 6 champions, finish all their variants in like 3 days, and then be like, well, now what do we do? So having that kind of content spaced out throughout the event means we get another sort of burst of excitement every Wednesday throughout the event, which I think is really good. The other reason we did is we wanted to slow people down a little bit so there could be some community discussion about, hey, what are the cool champions to unlock here? What are you unlocking? What are you unlocking? What makes sense for your set of champions that you already have? What makes sense for yours? Which is the best champion here? Which is the worst champion here? Which champion here is likely to get a rework, and so I need to buy a whole bunch of chests for them before that happens? Those sort of questions, and having that kind of discussion on the Discord and on Reddit and on social media was something that we thought would be really fun for the community to engage in, and so we wanted to make sure that we were allowing that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the intention was to have sort of, to spread out the engagement and have engagement beats throughout the event rather than having it all done at once and then being like, well, I finished it all and now I don't have any reason to be continuing to discuss it. And then, of course, like as you point out, having at least a delay there means that there can be some discussion about, hey, what are strategies going on right now that make sense for what I should pick for the next champion?
Yeah, especially for newer players.
Yeah, especially for newer players. And because there's no way to unpick a champion, if you went ahead early on and picked, all the champions right out of the gate, and then there was some discussion, and it was like, oh, well, meta is now this, and I should have done something differently.
Actually, Rosie's really good. You should definitely pick her.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, I think just sort of on a sort of primary level, it was sort of to keep engagement up throughout the entire event.
Yeah, similar to how we have in seasons, we have seasonal the seasonal quests unlock weekly, so that's gives you something new to do every Wednesday. It's a similar kind of thing with Events 2.0. There's something new to do every Wednesday.
Okay. Yes. So the answer is no, we will not be removing. That is not the plan.
No plan to
plan
remove them right now. No.
I'm losing my microphone.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Oh. Okay. Next question. This is from Fewer Pills. With the new boon system, non-scripting Briv players that buy at least one level of that are completely screwed because their gem runs are completely broken now because of the permanent fire breath potion and no option to turn it off. Can you either finally implement the Modron reset option for Briv stacks to avoid that from being an issue, or add a way to deactivate buffs? Otherwise, Modron Briv players are basically currently in a pay-to-lose scenario.
Yes, hopefully this will be resolved by having a buff toggle.
Okay. Do we have an ETA on the buff toggle?
It is in the medium priority list, and I think we only have one other item on the high priority list before we get down to the mediums, and the medium priority list is not currently sorted in any way. There's no priority within the medium priority list, but there's about 10 or 12 items in that, so I think considering sort of the feedback here, we can definitely make sure that it gets bumped up to the higher in that list.
Right. Okay, good. Yeah, that's a good point.
Some of the other things on that list that I really want to get done, I want to get I want to add sort of sorting and filters and a little bit more information on the Pick a Champion page, so you can see like your current eye levels and equipment and sort by that. Easily sort by champions you don't have, stuff like that, just so it's an easier choice, or not an easier choice, but you have some more information without having to click into every champion and examine every champion about which ones you want to unlock and work on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, definitely reading this, the last thing I like to read is, I supported the game and now my game is worse.
Yeah, obviously that sucks.
Okay, next question is from Numantis. Can you make it so that the filters in the collections dialog close when you click anywhere outside of the filters rather than specifically on the filters button?
Yeah, I think we should do that. I should have highlighted that your color, and then you could have said
UI related. I will tag that.
Yes, we should do that. I also noticed that one. I also wanted like escape to close it as well, or something. I was thinking like when I was playing it. I had like this twitch to hit
and
escape.
And it didn't work?
And it didn't do it what I wanted it to do.
To close the whole dialogue?
I think so.
Probably.
Maybe.
And if it didn't close the whole dialogue, it should have.
It should, yeah. Set that up.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Yeah, that sounds perfectly reasonable. Next question is from Ranram. Is there any timeline for not having impossible guild quests that are up to 3.5 years from being completed show as incomplete and affect the completion bar?
Yes, there is a
Is it less than 3.5 years?
I mean, it's less than 3.5 years. Yeah, by April 2022, we'll definitely have that done. Now, yes, so one of the things I'm doing right now, I think I mentioned it, was doing a pass of the collections dialogue, and we want to get rid of those guide quests. I think there's only like a dozen of them or so, and we just want to basically hide those until the point at which they're completable. That was the intention with them. I think they're even in the design doc. They're highlighted in red for the most part, and I think whoever was putting in that data didn't realize that red meant don't put this in, or put it in with a date, and then we just didn't catch that in testing because the dev accounts we were using were not, or the accounts I was using at least, was not so far into the game.
Okie dokie. Next question. This is from Emote. Would you say it is a safe assumption to presume that none of the Ox Venturers are likely to get a rework in the next year or two? I had hopes for Season 8 or maybe 10, but now not so much.
I don't think it's a safe assumption. I think we're not necessarily looking at affiliation or anything. The main thing we're looking at when we're looking at which champions to rework is usage. Usage and kind of usage combined with ownership. Low ownership champions and low usage champions are our first kind of targets for which champions to rework. So there may be some Ox Ventures champions that aren't seeing a lot of usage, and those ones may get reworked. And if we start to rework them, we may feel like, hey, we should rework other ones so they can have, proper affiliation synergy stuff happening. But I don't know. I wouldn't assume much of anything about which champions are going to rework, except we're probably going to be focusing on the ones that are just not as popular. Try to bring them up to snuff.
Okay. Next question. This is from Library of Akasha. Oof. Okay, sure. So aside from reworked and new champions, others don't get a new feat. Was looking forward to a Briv feat.
Yeah, so we made a call to just do the feat, the sort of tier rewards, feats, and consumables and stuff for just the featured champions. And the main reason for that was we didn't want to do the design for all the other flex champions. Part just to reduce workload, because over the first year that would be like 100 and something extra champions that we would need to look at. and partially just because at some point a bunch of those champions will probably get reworked, and so we didn't necessarily want to do rewards for them now and then have to redo those rewards in the future. So just to keep it simple, we focused the featured rewards on the featured champions that everyone could unlock and get those rewards for. I guess that's another reason we wouldn't want to do it, is because it would make the choice of which champions you unlock a little bit tougher if there were like exclusive feats and stuff. You basically have like, be able to get 4 of those Flex exclusive feats each event, and so yeah, I think just the featured ones is the right call for now, but it's something we could reevaluate in the future.
Okay.
Also, it's
Gotta
really
rush
hard.
down there and grab some questions before you highlight them all.
It's really hard to make new Briv feats. He just doesn't have a lot of stuff you can buff.
Except locking his level or his jump.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Okay, next question. This is from Emote. Now that you've removed full dismantle to blacksmith exploit people, what? Now that you've removed the full dismantle, that blacks. I don't think that follows, Justin.
The blacksmith exploit. These are blacksmith exploit people.
Blacksmith
Are,
exploit people. Okay, there
are a
we go.
type of
Now
people.
I understand.
It's a class of citizen.
I see. Okay, let's try this again. Now that you've removed the full dismantle that blacksmith exploit people were using during seasons by automatically ending the dismantle if someone buys chests for tokens, will you be removing the 10k eye level limit per item from the dismantle?
So no plans to right now, and I think part of that reason is because, well, I think it's pretty obvious what some of the upcoming champions are, rework champions are, and so while we've removed it from the current event, so you can't just run it in the current event, there's nothing really stopping people from loading up all their flex champions, especially maybe you unlock all the ones that you perceive as less popular and load those all up with blacksmithing contracts and gear and stuff, and then just wait for their rework to come around and do it. So I don't think there's really any impetus to remove that right now, but
Okay. Next question. This is from Numantis. Can the supercharged output bar in the Modron section of collections be looked at? It seems to require that you supercharge nodes that aren't superchargeable to hit 100%.
Yeah, so this was a bug that I remember seeing in some of our internal reviews, and I guess we just didn't quite get to it before release. So
There were many, many pages.
there were, I think in our second review there were 54 pages of feedback. Now that was with screenshots and stuff, so it wasn't it wasn't 54 pages of text. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff in there that we had to prioritize and triage, and yeah, Nick did a great job of finishing all that stuff.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. Next question. This is from Randram. Is there any update on the increase to the max area beyond 2001?
Yeah, so not really, except to say that it is still something I want to do. I think, with events 2.0 going out and some of the variant requirements being up to 1600 there, I think that we're at a point in the game where we could look at adding content that is more challenging and requires you to go up and beyond Area 2000. I think previously sort of getting to Area 2000 was mainly for people who were sort of using nefarious means or sort of non-intentional gameplay. But I think more and more with legendary items and all the power that we've put into the game, it's becoming something that's more in range of your average player who's put in just a lot of time into the game and sort of getting close to completing it. So I think that having challenges beyond that area is something we will see, maybe not soon, but certainly at some point.
Okay. Do we want to move on to the giveaway or do one more
let's
question?
do the next question,
first?
and then we'll do the giveaway. Yeah.
Okay. Next question then. This is from Library of Akasha. Thoughts on making a champion that harms other champions around it and can hopefully proc steel bones on Briv?
Yeah, the Briv interaction is interesting. So yeah, an interesting kind of question about champion design and whether we would do a champion that's a little bit self-sacrificing. I'm not sure we would. The main reason for that is because we want to make sure that you can't necessarily have champions or put champions in that are detrimental to you if you don't understand how they work. We can certainly have champions who are not as powerful as they could be if you don't understand how they work. But having a champion that will actually kill the rest of your formation if you don't understand how it works is potentially not a great idea.
It's the greatest idea.
It's not the great idea or a greater idea. It's the greatest idea. No. So yeah, I would think long and hard before I put something like that into the game. For the most part, I think Spurt is self-sacrificing, sort of. Spurt is not self-sacrificing. Spurt is he kills himself and then your formation gets better. So he just has the appearance of self-sacrificing. There is, yes, Mars points out the Archon Hand of Vecna feat it does kill her or himself very slowly. But that is something you opt into and not a base champion ability. That's kind of the difference there in my mind.
Okay.
Anywho, so let's move on to the next thing here on our list. We've done 17 questions, which means we are ready for our world famous...
Is that what that means? Is 17 the number?
Yes, 17 is the number. 17 questions in, and we get to do our giveaway. So
okay, but we did 2 questions from last week, so we're actually at 19
questions in. 19 questions in every week consistently. We do
Is
our
17 prime, Justin?
Yes. I had to think way too hard about that. So anyway, without further ado, it's our world famous gold chest giveaway. The way it works, if you haven't been here before, there will be a code word very shortly in chat. All you have to do is copy and paste that code word back into chat, or you could type it in if you really wanted to. And you will be entered in for a chance to win 42 chests of your choice. It can be any type of chest that exists in the game, any type of chest whatsoever. Dave, this is your cue to go look at the type
right,
of chest.
of course.
So you could just do regular gold chests, I guess, if you weren't getting enough of those through gems and stuff, or you could do Modron component chests. That's the time I would get, so I could play the pipe game some more. You could get...
not nylon chests?
Oh,
Yeah.
Huh?
Shag chests?
Shag chests, yeah.
Wool chests?
Wool chests.
How about some plush chests?
Oh,
How about
plush chests.
velvet chests?
Velvet chests.
Cut pile chests, I think.
Types
might
of
be.
carpeting, says Loopy79. I believe that is correct.
Didn't even get to the Berber chest.
No. Darn.
All right.
So good luck to everyone in that, and also you can't have any of those carpet chests unless they actually exist in the game. It does have to be a type of chest that exists in the game. If you ask for a type of chest that doesn't exist in the game, I don't actually know what.
I don't know. I think we should get a shag carpet chest into the game, though. I think that
that actually
70s
sounds
theme.
That actually sounds like a type of chest that could exist in the game already. Some sort of weekend promo. I bet the artist would have had a fun time drawing that one. Anywho, let's move on to the
I'm sure
next.
actually marketing would reject a shag chest, I think, for other reasons.
Let's move on to the next question. This one is from Emote, and they say, the collections dialogue has brought an old issue back to the fore. Modron resetting, closing every single dialogue. Could this please be made to not happen, or even just have the collections menu stay open?
That is a good question. It's especially a good question with it being a full screen dialogue, because it means that if the reset happens and you don't see it, it could cause some confusion.
Yeah. My joke answer to this is that we should just have like the Modron core pop up in the corner like Clippy and be like, hey, I want to reset. Should I reset or wait?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to have some kind of an indicator that it's happening, if it's happening in the background, but...
Yeah. The cynical dev in me says that if we added the ability to have or if we added the feature of Modrons not resetting automatically when we had a full screen dialog open, that the people who do the non-scripting Briv farming would want us to disable that so that it wouldn't mess up their Briv farming.
Oh, no.
So they go a couple extra areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, clearly the solution is to pause the game when you open collections. Do you want to address why pausing the game when you open collections is probably not the perfect solution?
Not really.
Well, then I will.
I mean, typically, we don't have anything that pauses the game for more than a few minutes.
Yeah, I think the shop pauses the game for 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes, and then it unpauses. I think if we were going to do this, we would probably have a similar thing. If it was going to pause the game, we'd have it unpause after 5 minutes, which of course defeats the purpose of having it pause for a thing like a collections dialogue if you're going to be spending a bunch of time in there. I'm not sure exactly what the solution is to this.
Yeah, and I'm not even 100% sure if it makes sense that the dialogue doesn't have its data refreshed when the when the game when the area resets. So.
I mean, there's with a Modron reset, those are only going to be happening in free plays.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be really happening in a place where you're going to get a lot of changes in your collections, if any.
But you might get some.
The only thing I can think is maybe if you're in a time gate free play, the number of silver chests you've earned from that time gate might update. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head that would update the collections dialogue. I mean, I think the solution I see is if it could just reset silently behind and just automatically go back to the same adventure at the beginning. But it also feels like you want to have some sort of notification when you get out of the collection dialogue screen, like, hey, I've reset. Yeah. So you don't have a case where, a player was in area 400 and they had reset on and they reached 450. That was my worry, right? And then they're back in area 4 and they're like, what the hell happened to my game? I went back 400 areas.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine the way it's set up, the resetting would still occur over top of the dialogue. That might be the solution, to have the little Modron resetting dialogue pop up over top, and while you have to wait a moment while it happens, the dialogue remains up, so you're not totally interrupted. But at least then you'd know it happened. Well, if you were present. Yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can highlight this one and maybe chat with Peter tomorrow about kind of what kind of some of the solutions are.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. The next question here is from Fewer Pills, and they would like to know, can you please make the Tier 2 Briv buff stack with the left spec choice so that all players have something from that buff and not just the handful of players that want Briv to buff 100% better with his middle spec while skipping areas? His healing spec isn't useful in any scenario because patron globals are already increased Briv's healing to over 100% of his health. I was so disappointed to see that the buff is intended to do nothing. If you already pick the left spec.
Yeah, so I think making it stack with the left spec choice is probably something we do want to do. There was a bug with the release where it was stacking in the wrong direction, and when you had both the buff and the spec, it was going up to consuming 6.5% of your stacks per jump instead of being reduced. And so the fastest solution we had to that was to just make it not stack. Making it stack in the opposite direction was going to require a little bit more of a deep dive into the mechanics or into the implementation. And so we chose the way that would make it super easy to fix in the moment, which was just a small change. So I think that looking at taking another look at that and making that stack kind of the way you might expect it to is something we can do in a little bit of the medium to longer term. May not be something we can get out kind of in the next week or two because I think there's some description issues that I think will need to get updated there. I think the way that spec is set up, it's actually quite hard coded in how it functions. So it's something we can look at. I can't guarantee that we'll get it out right away, I think we do want to make that kind of do what most players I think would expect it to do, which is stack multiplicatively with the spec. Moving on to the next question here. This one's from Pneumatis, and they say, can the new champion event dialog respect console portrait settings and show the non-console portrait if they are disabled? Or even better, show the model like on the character sheet. Also, the champion details section could really do with some labels or tooltips. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with the information. Male human wizard 5, chaotic neutral 57, DPS support none. It does have labels.
I will speak to that.
Speak to that,
I
please.
will speak to that because it doesn't always have labels.
What?
Yes.
Are they playing at 320 by 200 and we made it scale for that?
320 or 240 below. Yeah, no.
Oh, gosh.
So for the first part of the question, can the event dialog respect the console portrait setting? That is probably something that it can do. So that's not a big deal for that. As far as the champion details section, I mean, I guess to some extent, I assume there's a tongue buried firmly in cheek because I assume you actually do know what most of that is.
Now, Pneumatis is brand new. I've never seen them ask questions in Dev Insights before.
Yes. The numbers, I think, were the ones that stood out to me as being a little bit sort of like, which one is that? If you hadn't seen it before, but there was actually quite a bit of compromises that had to be made on that to get it to all fit at 720p. And the text on that section was extremely small with the labels in place. And so if you go past, I'm not exactly sure which, there's a threshold at which we remove the labels to make it so that the actual text is larger. So if you're above 720p, I'm not actually sure where we set the threshold. You do have labels there, and when you're below that threshold, the labels go away so that the actual text there becomes more readable. The decision around that, sort of as I said, was that I think at this point you should know what those are. But the labels were pulled at the lower resolution, just so that
I didn't even know it was possible to go under 720p.
Well, no, at 720p. I'm saying it's under some resolution, some threshold between 720p and 1080p.
Really? I did all my. Oh no, I did my testing at.
Like if you were
like
at some
800 or something.
Yeah. I think it might just be at the lowest setting there that they go away, because the space just gets too small.
Right.
It does have labels. Wait, what? Yeah, anyone running over 720 has labels. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I say, I do think they're pretty self-explanatory. The only ones being
missing right at 720p.
Yeah.
Okay.
My resolution is set to light bright. Yes.
Yeah,
and technically 1024 by
768
768 is not something that we like. Do we support 4:3 resolutions? I think the lowest we technically support is 720p. And you can change the resolution in the setting if you like, but so I think our official support resolution stops at 720. Yes. And like I say, I think the only thing that stood out in there that was like, oh, I wonder what this is exactly, was the 5 and the 57. And
one of them is age, and one of them is overwhelm. So I think the 5 is the overwhelm, and 57 is the age.
That's right. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
It was a compromise, unfortunately. Okay, next question. This one is...
You know, we could do those just like they say with, we could switch from labels to tooltips at the super low resolution.
Yeah.
And just have a tooltip that says age, overwhelm, whatever.
Yeah, that's an option. It doesn't cover, we're a little
bit...
bit...
work for consoles.
Yeah, we're a little bit conservative with our tooltips because of consoles,
but those wouldn't, that wouldn't be an issue on consoles.
No, you can run your console at 720 if you want. It's an option. Some people do it. I wouldn't suggest that you do, but you can. Yeah, most are not going to be.
Don't do it, man.
Yeah.
Anyone who's running your console at 720p, man, get to the current century, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You can't do them in a petri dish. Okay. Next question. This is from Randram. Any progress on removing the current requirement needing to have all 798 legendary items and waste between 399,000 and 598,500 scales to fill the equipment collection bar to 100%? at maximum acquisition rate of 1,000 or 177,041 per 6 days. Interesting. That is up to 202 days of needless waste of power.
No, this is peak gameplay. I don't know what you're talking about. No, yeah. I'm kidding. Yes, that is one of the things. So one of the things that I'm doing in my current pass is taking a look at all the circular progress bars that are up at the top. Those are the things that kind of count towards the main progress bar. And some of those are kind of intended to not actually count toward the main progress bar. And so we want to go through and kind of label those up, make sure it's very obvious which ones are supposed to kind of count all the time, which ones are only supposed to count if you have premium progress on, and which ones are just never supposed to count and are more there for informational purposes. And we're going to get those ones fixed up. Like the time gate stuff and the legendary stuff are the two that jump out to me as ones where they should not be counting toward your overall progress. So that is on the to-do list.
All right.
The next question here from Emote is, original Xbox ran Halo at 720p. Yeah, but you can't play Idle Champions on the original Xbox, so.
That's true. Did the original Xbox run at 7? I thought it was like
640 by 480.
something like that, right? It was.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it did support 720p as like the highest possible output because that was sort of HD at the time.
71 questions, and we're going to spend just a little bit more time talking about console resolutions. Let's see. Next question here is from Emote, who asks, is there a key binding for the collections dialog that allows a user to go backwards a section? Both escape and C close the entire collections if it's open.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have something set to that,
No.
but that sounds like a really good idea. So let's tag that. And
whoa, I've got
Okay.
caps lock on.
well done.
Backspace, I think, would be a good option for that. That's what I've seen before on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I think that would work. Okay. Next question. This is from Insomnica. Can you share anything about the next Idle Champions Presents? And have you ever thought about giving it one or more episodes? It always feels like just when everyone has finally found their character, it's at the finale already.
So I highlighted this question mainly just to say that no, I don't really know anything about the IC Presents. That is something that that kind of the marketing side.
Almost 100% handled.
Yeah, I generally do next to nothing for that, except for if there's a champion from that that's going to get included in the game. We do the normal kind of champion design process with the content creator. So I don't know anything about the next Idle Champions Presents.
Me either.
I'm in the dark on that one, but I'm sure it'll be cool whenever it eventually comes out.
Okay, next question. This is from Emote. For the tiered event variants, if we are able to clear the area goal of the Tier 4 variant while doing the Tier 1 variant, can it please credit that? Having to do something 4 times when it would be possible once feels a bit like busy work. And didn't you say that same process of tiers and bonus quests wasn't fun?
Yeah, so I mean, I do. So yes, with bonus quests, I agree that process was not fun.
There was 20 of them, I think, in the bonus quests.
I think that's the biggest. The biggest thing is that there was sort of 10 to 18 tiers of bonus quests, where there's only 4 tiers of the variant. The other bit is just because of the way we do rewards and stuff. It's kind of it would be a little bit awkward to basically be done Tier 4 of one variant before you've done Tier 1 of another variant. So I think the process of kind of completing them in order makes more sense for Events V2. I'd never say never to something like this, but it's certainly, I don't think it's something that would work within the current tech and the way we've set things up.
No, because they're treated as actual variants.
I mean, they are treated as separate adventures and stuff like that, and I think it would just be super complicated to do that.
Besides, in the future, you're going to want to add variant to the variant, so they're not just tier like this level. You're going to add
quite possibly. That is something we considered, sort of how to make the later variants different. We don't have the tech for it right now, but I think it is something that we could potentially do in the future. So I don't think it's quite as onerous as bonus quests were in Seasons, and so I'm not in a rush to make any changes to it. But I definitely hear you, and I understand where you guys are coming from on that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also one of the cases here, it's not as though they're actually costing tokens to run now, so it's like the spread out cost doesn't,
Yeah. There's enough variety in there too that it's not just running the exact. The other thing with bonus quests is you're just running the exact same free play like 18 times, whereas with this, at least it's kind of you can switch between the variants. If you just go, if you unlock 3 champions and you just go between the variants, you got 9 other adventures between the next time you encounter that same adventure. So I think there's ways to spread it out.
And they're saying 6 champions, 3 variants, 4 tiers is equal to 72.
Mm-hmm. Over the course of 21 days.
Yeah. Now, they're not all the same variant.
No.
But there's still a lot.
6 champions, it's 18 variants, 4 tiers. Yeah.
Okie dokie. Next question. This one is specifically for Justin.
Yes.
So it just says, this is from Fewer Pills. When did they, C&E, edit away Zerial feats, by the way? Before or after we asked where the promised feats would exist? I have an answer for this, but it's the pain in the butt to articulate in text. So ask me on Dev Insights tomorrow. Wait, this is what you read.
That second bit there is what I wrote. This is from the well of spoilers yesterday.
Yes.
The part that's missing from this question, oddly, is it's specifically about Dadius. So there were some feats potentially mentioned in the blog to make Dadius eligible for Zerial. And that was a mistake. There were not supposed to be feats mentioned there in the blog because we didn't have any intention of adding the necessary feats in this update to make Dadius eligible for Zerial. And the reason for that is Dadius is as far away as you can be from being eligible for Zerial while still being within range with a couple of feats. He needs 2 strength and 2 charisma in order to become eligible for Zerial. And the reason we didn't add those feats is kind of multifaceted. The main one is normally those +2 feats come from DLC, and normally DLC just has 1 epic feat in it. So we would have to do something unusual in order to basically have those feats exist. We'd either have to have a single feat with 2 +2 stat increases on it, which would feel very awkward and weird to be like an epic level feat when other epic level feats only have 1 +2 stat on it. Or it would have to be a DLC that had 2 epic level feats in it, and then you'd have to equip 2 epic level stat feats in order to make Dadius eligible for Zerial, which I think would also feel very awkward because you'd need it'd be 2 of your 4 feat slots used up in order to make him eligible. So I think in the long run, what we decided to do was just kind of say, all right, Dadius, you're probably not going to be eligible for Zerial. You're just a little bit too far away, and there's no really clean way to make you eligible unless some other mechanics exist in the game in the future that allow us to modify those stats in some way. So that's where we came down, and the only reason it was included in the blog is because in our design documents we do note exactly what requirements or what adjustments would need to be made for a particular champion to make them eligible for a feat, and so we were noting there that those would be the feats required, and the person who was setting up the blog just misread that as we are adding those in when we were not. So just a simple mistake. And we got that fixed up as soon as we noticed that it was there and there were people asking about it.
Okay. We got lots of questions today. I'm just sort of going through here. All right. We probably only have time for 1 or 2 more.
1 or 2 more? Yeah. The next one's an easy one.
Good. Then it'll probably be 2 more. The next question here is from Kalius TV. You've previously said that the favor conversion rate will be raised to compensate for the reduced number of events. Currently, it's unchanged. Where can they see that?
I don't know.
I don't think they can
but
see
it
that.
is, but it is not correct.
Is this planned to be changed before the end of this event?
So yeah, we have changed the favor conversion rate for all of the events, except for I think we didn't change it for Fleet's Wake because that event just ended, and so we didn't want to change it for an event that was already running. So yeah, we've bumped it up just a little bit. The way it's going to work is we couldn't quite get the curves to line up exactly right because of just how all the math works on favor conversion. And so the way it will work is if, in general, you convert about e to the 30 gold worth of favor, or if you it's either e to the 30 gold
You're
or
breaking
e to
the
30
rule,
favor.
Justin. No,
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to do
stream.
math. But anyway, there's a break point. If you convert less than that per event, you'll end up getting less favor or less permanent favor boosts than with events 1.0. And if you convert more than that, you'll end up getting slightly more favor. But it works out to be within sort of 1E kind of range for kind of no matter where you are on that scale. And so it shouldn't be too impactful, and it should be pretty close to what it would have been with 17 events.
All right. Let's see if you can blow through this. We can get one more in here today.
Okay, let's see.
This is from OG17 asking, Hi, Harvestide features Dadius from the still active Cimmeral event. Can you clarify how this works? Are featured slots just wildcards that can draw from any event? Or will Dadius return as a flex character when Cimmeral comes around? Or is he now in High Harvestide forever? Seems confusing for an event identity.
Yeah, so High Harvestide is okay. I'm not going to nitpick on the fact that the current event is not High Harvestide, but the way it works is reworked champions. We can pull those in from any event, and they'll be kind of a guest in the current event. They will be available as flex champions when we come around to their original event. The only champions that are sort of permanently moving between events are ones from those from the retired events, those 5 retired events. And those ones will be permanently moving or living in their new events unless they get reworked, in which case they'll visit whatever event we rework them in and then go back to being flex champions in their regular event. And the one sort of thing about this is when we do rework champions, we do try to do them at least 4 or 5 months away from their event, so you don't have a case where we rework a champion and then like the next event they show up as a flex champion. So we do try and have a bit of spacing there. But yeah, they will get Dadius will go back to Cimmeral and be available as a flex champion at the end of the year.
Okay, well that is definitely all the time we have.
Whew, okay. If we didn't get to your question this week, don't worry, you will have another opportunity. We plan to be live again at this same time next week.
Would we not be?
I might be in a box. Who knows? Back in my kennel.
Yep.
Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our very, very tired mods, Mars and Gabe. They're the folks who copy your questions into our questions doc and make things awesome in chat. So thanks to both of you.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and for enjoying the game. Because without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
We like what we do.
That's it. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. So a friend was telling me that quilts are better than duvets.
Really?
I told her that she must be careful making such blanket statements.